Hello.
What's up, man?
How are you doing today?
Good. You?
I'm doing fan-fucking-tastic.
It's always a good day when you feel that way.
If it was any better, I'd get taxed.
Huh.
How you like that one?
You are being taxed. You just don't know it.
Nah, but I feel that way. I feel like if I could do it any better today, they'd tax me for it.
Oh.
I'd figure out some way. But no, I'm doing as I also like to say, doing better than I deserve.
Oh.
You know, sometimes I feel that way. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah, that's true. We all have those days.
Yeah, man. You know, and when you fight the ones that are the opposite way, I think that makes you, I don't know, it creates even more of them.
Well, you just you can't fight the flow. Got to go with it sometimes.
It's a good way to put it, man. Yeah, if it's going to be bad, just let it be bad, right?
Well, it's just a coin toss, you know. You just got to roll with it, you know.
Yeah.
Can't change. Like if it's raining outside, what are you really going to do to stop it?
Yeah. Well, how many times have we, you know, or do we as people, as humans, we expect things are going to go one way and they don't. And you get angry, you get mad, you I don't know, I guess where I want to go with this is you do it enough times, maybe you should how do I want to put this, Jeff? Do you want to be forgiven? You know, when you can't meet expectations, when you can't live up to standards.
So you're talking for yourself or just like a general situation?
In a general situation as a people, like you want to be forgiven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is it then that so many of us don't really do that?
I'd say now as a society, we are not taught to forgive anymore as we used to be. You know, obviously the Bible and other religious teachings
Right.
say you should forgive, you know. Stoics say the same thing, make sure I'm Seneca. I was going to say Cato. Seneca was he? Banished for 9 years, then brought back in ruling, and then his own people pulled him out. Some of like his inner workings, and he had killed. I can't remember if he killed himself or they killed him, but it was literally like they were to him, we're going to do it or you're going to do it.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was how he died, but literally like, you know, those kind of teachings is, and even when he was alive and banished for those years, he didn't hold anger or a grudge.
Right.
Because what good does it do? And I think, you know, the Bible, different religions speak, but as a society, we don't. You see so much through social media, day-and-day interaction of the news, repetitive nature over and over of hatred or negative thoughts or, you know, phrases put towards situations that it just becomes so ingrained in an individual that forgiveness or just moving on doesn't happen anymore.
So would you, I guess then I would say, and would you agree that then it becomes habitual?
Yeah.
Right. So like not forgiving someone, holding a grudge, when you see them, that reaction, that gut feeling, that anxiety or whatever it is that takes hold, that's habitual.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And it's just the thing that people grasp onto, you know, and I think so many more people are influenced by what they see on social media, the internet, whether it's real or not. And you kind of, you know, no different than a political view. You sit here, you know, you're kind of one of the three. You know, there might be a fourth where you just don't really give a shit. But you fall into those categories of those people that you kind of align with, and then you kind of follow what they do. So then if they post stuff or they say this, you kind of gravitate towards this. And so then whatever this group is constantly talking about, which is what's always in your ear, that's what you gravitate towards. So if there is anything anger-wise, hatred-wise, you just hold on to that and you don't let go of it.
Right.
Even if, you know, something would change and it's like, oh, this isn't true anymore. I think it's just the way society has gone is it puts people in a position that, oh, no, we got to hate this. We got to do this. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well,
Yeah.
why?
You know, when I used to travel a lot for work as a civilian, I would have these expectations when I come home. Let's say I was gone for a week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it was. coming home from the airport, I would have an expectation that I'd come home to a clean house, to an orderly house, to, peace and tranquility. Well, I fucking had to grow up a bit and understand that that's not how that shit works. But it was habitual for me that I would come home and not be able to forgive people for not meeting my expectation that, hey, let me remind myself and everybody else, I never even put out there into the ether. I never said this shit.
Well, it's just like a job. If you don't put out the expectations as the leader, the one in charge, your subordinates will just do as they please.
That's right.
And that's things I've had to remind my staff, like, hey, I understand we got cell phones, this and that, but we don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be doing that. You got to take a call. You got to take a text, hop in an office, go in the break room.
Yeah.
Don't be, out here doing those types of things, So it's that type of stuff. Like, I think it is, you created that picture in your head because you wanted to come home to peace after kind of being gone and not home. So you're like, man, I can't wait to get home. And you want everything to be in its place kind of when you left it. So you're envisioning when you left the house potentially of what it looked like. No different than someone who moves away from a town and comes back 20 years later. You have this vision of what it is. But obviously, if you've been gone for X amount of years, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, but it's weird how just speaking to the habit side of it, how you can program yourself to have expectations that have never been met, and probably will never be met unless you actually come up with some way to vocalize or verbalize them like an adult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sort of vomiting on the table here with these words. I don't have a solution for this. It's just something that I've experienced. And I'm just now, quite a few gray hairs later, understanding that just when you come home, be happy that you're home, or whatever your situation is, your generic, wherever you are. Don't have those expectations. And if you do have expectations, make sure that you have them at arm's length.
Yeah.
You make sure that that expectations are made to be broken, like promises.
Well, I think of looking at your expectations of day-to-day life is kind of like traffic. You could leave, you don't turn on the news, you don't turn on the radio, you don't look at an app. You just go like old school ways before, well, it's still been years, but you just get in the car and you realize I'm going to leave at this time. That should give me plenty of time to get to where I'm going because I know how long it takes. Well, then you get in the car and then, man, there's unexpected traffic. Nothing you do can change it. Maybe even if you left earlier, it still wouldn't have changed it. Maybe it was an accident. It's, pre-planned out construction. You just got to go with it and sit there and go. Because no matter how much you stress, how much you bitch, you moan, it's not going to change it. And that's no different than like anything else, like the, preconceived notions you wanted when you came home. So
yeah,
maybe the laundry piled up. And you're like, oh, what the hell? Well, maybe while I was gone, something happened that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the washer broke, the laundry broke, maybe something with the connection. Something else went on that took precedent, and I just don't know it yet because my wife, my kids, whomever didn't tell me because that was a burden they didn't want to put onto me because of my travels and what I was dealing with my job.
Sure.
So maybe that just took a back burner, and then you come home and you're like, what the heck? And then you're like, you kind of get heated, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
And that's something too that like I always try to at work, like, okay, first off, how'd this happen? Let's re-engineer it. Let's, detective it. How did we get to this? What happened that this happened? Okay, here. Okay. The individuals that could have been working at that time, hey guys, what happened during this? That this went on. Like, just give me a little backstory. You just want to know. And then someone's like, oh, this is okay. All I need was an explanation to figure that out. And then sometimes someone is at fault and you got to have a talk with them. But then other times it's like, hey, this was what was going on. Blah, 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 didn't know what to do. So I think it's one of those things that you kind of got to take, instead of giving their reaction first, take a second and like, man, something wrong with the washer, the dryer? Do I need to do laundry? What's going on? So
yeah, I don't know, man. All I know is that it's become less and less that I do that, but I have so many instances that I can go back on where I would shit the bed. It would be a perfectly great scenario that I could walk into, and because whatever specific expectation in my head that I never verbalized wasn't met, then I would get angry about it. And that's I don't know. Is that mental illness? Is that, what is that? I don't know. But
I think that's just human nature, like in the regards to that. So it's no different like planning a vacation. You want to go and you expect this to be going on, this to be happening. I think it's easier to say like, okay, we're driving. It's like, we're going to pick a destination. We're going to encounter some hurdles.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some traffic. Maybe there's bad weather. Maybe we get a flat. Maybe we get lost. Still possible in this day and age, even with technology. Take a wrong turn, miss something. That you just kind of got to flow with it.
Yeah.
And you can internally be like, I don't know, this sucks. But let those thoughts kind of mull in your own head versus projecting it out. And I can say, I've done this too. I've missed a turn, been lost or whatever. And been like, son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. It's just those things is the preconceived notions are good and bad. You just have to understand that what you create in your head, your image, may not happen. And even if you get close to it, whether good or bad, it's not going to happen. You can envision this perfect thing of how something's going to go. There will be little mishaps in a way.
Exactly.
So yeah. I think it's good to set those expectations mentally of how you want a situation to go, but just understand that there's going to be variables that will happen that you're still trying to get to the same end result. It just may not be the exact perfect one you envisioned at the end.
Yeah. There's, I used to love the Choose Your Own Ending books when I was a child. You remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was enamored by them. It was just such a neat idea that you could have a say in how the end of the story ended, which you really didn't, but you could at least pick a path.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very novel. And I find that if we could think of our days and our schedules and whatnot and our relationships even as a pick your own ending, because it really is. But if you could look at it from maybe a top down view and analyze, your happenings throughout your days and whatnot, maybe you realize that it's on you, man. Like, you're not picking the way you want to go. You're not doing the right shit. And you know it, but you keep doing it. I mean, I'm in that boat on many occasions, many days, doing many things. You know that what you're doing is bad, whether it's going and grabbing a cup of ice cream over an apple or, whatever it is, silly shit, the mundane. All those little tiny decisions add up so monumentally. I mean, it's what makes that big mountain. It's what makes it is those tiny little events, those tiny little yes or no, or I should or I shouldn't, and actually following through with your intent. My goodness, what a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
It's
easy to get derailed very quickly.
It is, man. It really is. It's it's super easy to not only get derailed, but to take a long time to come back to what you want your reality to be. It can take days of getting out of your own way, or weeks, of not being angry with people, whatever your thing is. And, again, if you just keep going back to center, whether it's with meditation or with taking a run or whatever you do, the quicker you'll be better, the less time there'll be in between those happenings.
Yeah.
So, again, and it's nothing that, that I have any kind of a solution for. I just know that it's getting easier for me. And I think the only reason it's getting easier is because I try to set out with intent more rigorously now than before. By before, I mean even months ago. Having that intent, that focus, first thing in the morning, is it's good, man. Sort of light a fire under your ass, I guess, without having to go read somebody else's fire.
Oh, it takes time to do, to get yourself into that. But I think that ties perfectly into with, like we're saying, having those preconceived notions of how something's going to go. It's try to have a positive outlook on whatever's going to, kind of await you for your day, but understand that there are going to be variables and hiccups of things that don't come along with it. But as you build and develop your mindset and build strength with that, start your day, kind of get that energy that you look for internally, and you might still maybe find something external. When the event doesn't go as planned, you're mentally prepared for it, and your head like, well, this didn't go as planned, but then you're not casting out those negative vibes, comments, whatever, flying off the deep end, because you're dealing with it internally and just kind of rolling with it and like, okay, nothing we can do. That's what we got to do. How can we get back onto normal track? And I think more people than not just explode and fire. And from previous things I've been involved with, and I'm sure you can too, more people than not, instead of backtracking to find a solution, it's just cast down blame, yell and scream, blame, threaten, versus, okay, is it a reoccurring problem? Is this just something new? Like, you kind of always backtrack, re-engineer, re-step what you did, look at it, and then figure out, especially if there's multiple people involved, how can we all be on the same page so that we all, work together in this kind of a, homeostasis state of mind, and let alone if interaction in a day-to-day setting versus this is what I want, this is how it's going to be. But if you don't convey it specifically and perfectly, don't expect the people under you, It's no different than, what is it? If I tell you something and you go tell somebody else, I think it's 30% potentially loss from me to you, and then from you to the next person. So by the time the next person down the line, we go 4 down 5, it's not even the original thing that's been said, even if it was something simple.
Right.
And so it's one of those things you got to be very specific in those directions, state of mind, or expectations you have. Like, hey guys, I'm going to be gone this weekend. Like, you got older kids, so you could do this a little easier than I could. We're going to be gone this weekend. When we come back, we expect the house to be like this.
Yeah.
Rooms picked up, no clothes, laundry be done. Or when I come home today, I want to see the grass cut. You put that expectation, okay, hey, Dad's going away for the day. What time are you going to be back today? I'll be back by 5. Okay. I know before 5 o'clock I need to, or at least when he gets home, I'm in the process of doing it. He knows it. And I think, some would either do it that way too.
Yeah.
But you got to lay a clear groundwork. You can't just, vision something in your head and then expect that others are going to, pick up your wavelength and understand it.
I wonder why we do that. I wonder, it's an odd thing that we do, that you can have an expectation levied on people that they're not even aware of, and you consciously, I technically consciously make the decision to get angry if it doesn't go that way. Where was the moment where you thought, how is this logical? Where was that moment at? How did you skip right over all of that? There was a big bucket of knowledge right there, and you just went around it. It's weird how, and again, it's habitual. Like, that process is habitual. So for me, I think that that would be part of what I would refer to part of my mental illness is the obsession and compulsive behavior is I guess I don't want to go too deep into the weeds with my stuff, but it could be viewed as the building blocks of what could lead to a mental illness, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly pushing and pulling and expecting and not getting and wanting and not having and getting angry. And it's this cycle of every single emotion you could think of. And it's fucking exhausting. Trust me, it's exhausting. And I don't know what you call it. I'm not sure what it is, but you know, thus far, medicine has not been able to make it just go away.
No, and I don't think it will. That's something that comes from a mental state. And I don't think, as you talk about, you're not trying to get the weeds, I think everybody suffers from that you always expect something, you're pushing to make it this way, but then you're getting pulled the opposite way because there's more people against what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that just goes, again, hand in hand. You will have those people that will test the limits of an individual situation, job, day-to-day life. You'll have others that will kind of go with you. You'll have others that will align with you. But I think most of that influence of just not trying to do things at a certain level just falls to the way of society of everyone is mostly feels entitled these days. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone now has a voice, whereas they didn't before via social media and the online platform, whereas before you didn't have that. So you had a voice, but it was very small. Now the whole world can hear it. So now everyone thinks they're entitled to this way when, whether it's right or wrong, that there aren't as many minds aligning to say, we can do this. There are, but as a whole, from a standpoint, there aren't.
Right.
So you don't get as many people thinking like, that's a good idea. We should do this. And kind of go down this path and
holding hands, if you will.
Kind of get, okay, well, that didn't work. Back up a few. Let's go this way. There aren't as many people willing to kind of bump into the wall and go, okay, that didn't work. Bump again. Oh, there's a door. Cool. Got through this door. Bump, bump, bump. Oh, got to the next door. There aren't as many people willing. I think so many people, besides being entitled, they want the quick and easy way out.
I think that if you could interrupt their pattern and make them aware that, hey, we haven't even communicated yet, or whatever it is that you're trying to convey, if you could interrupt their pattern mid-sentence, mid-conversation, whatever it is, maybe they do want to. Maybe they would like to be a part of that. Maybe they don't like where they're currently at. Maybe they were just fucking doing what they always do because that's what they do.
There are people that are creature of habit, and that's especially a big thing for those of you that work out. When you're in a gym setting, you probably, if you go to the same time every day, you probably see the same people, roughly, because creatures of habit, schedules. Look at some of these people, they do the same things over and over and over, and you see them for long extended periods and not much changes. Well, that's no different than anyone. If you read the same material over and over, you become an expert on what you're reading, but are you really broadening the horizons of your the capabilities of your mind?
Yeah, you're staying in your comfort zone.
Yeah, and that's that whole thing. Comfort zones here, if you don't step out of it or always be on the edge of it, and teetering in and out, you really won't expand with it.
Yeah.
And that's so many things with a lot of people that just get comfortable in their ways or not expecting, or they follow this path so much and do good that nothing changes. So then in their head, they wire it that here's my intent and expectations. I will continue to follow down this line because nothing bad really happens to me. Yeah. Occasional mess up here. Or I didn't do this good on this, but everything overall is pretty good. So I'll continue just going down that kind of line versus taking the risk and the reward.
Yeah. So, yeah, it seems like I can't say if it's less people or it's more people, but
too hard to say.
What I can say is that I encounter what I feel is fewer people that can handle resistance. Not change, just the thought of change.
Mm-hmm.
Just the potential for change. Uncomfortable is no longer an option. Seemingly.
Well,
people pay to go be uncomfortable in a gym, right? But everything else is
Yeah.
Don't get in the way of my comfort. Don't get in the way of my route to work. When I get to route, don't get in the way
And
or
that's
get to
what
work.
people want. Like, today school's back in session after spring break, man, like left normal time. Traffic was just crazy. More buses, more people, a lot of people running late. And I'm just like, okay. So I don't have a set time. I'm like, I go in, I have a time I would like to be in, but I'm like, so if I'm past the time that I set for myself, I can't do nothing because I'd literally be having to drive around people on, and passing people, which would be illegal.
Yeah.
And it comes into play just of that same thing. Like you're saying, it's like Alan Watts says, change is inevitable. Somewhere I'm paraphrasing, change is inevitable. You kind of got to plunge yourself into it head first and go.
Yeah.
It is. Day to day, you're going to have changes, things that will inevitably, you're like, okay, you may not agree with, but look at now versus 2 years ago. Big changes.
Well, that's and I'll take that right there real quick, man. 2 years ago, I was not even close to where I am now in regards to my relationship with my children or my wife, or my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was nowhere close, and it was because of incremental changes that I forced upon myself every single day. That's why I'm mentally 100 times better than I was 2 years ago. Totally different person. So those incremental changes that you have to force upon yourself sometimes feel like, it's not a big deal. It was one day, maybe 2 out of 3 days. All right. Well, now you start looking at the big picture and you got 14 out of 21 days. You just said, hey, it's no big deal. Well, you cannot out-train that diet.
Well, and that's something from an individual I know, always talking about winning the day and that you set off things in your day that you should be able to accomplish. So drink X amount of water, eat meals, do this, little things in your day. And that's fine because those things you can control. But it is impossible to win every day of your life because you cannot control outside the forces of you. You cannot control what's going to happen on the way to work. You cannot control if you order food from somewhere that it's going to be absolutely right. Because once I would like this, and this, it's no longer in your control. You're not the one doing it.
So wait, do you mean that whenever I would come home from a week on the road and think something was going to be a certain way, I had no control over that?
And that's what people need to kind of grasp, that there are more things than not in this world that are out of your control. They're going to happen. It's, how do we say this? Kind of a, mutually agreeing relationship of the universe, but you can control what you're doing. I can't control the person next to me. I can try and influence them all day long, say things, help them, but that doesn't mean that they're going to take heed of what I say to make any changes. But that's where people have to understand it is impossible to constantly be in control and win the day. Yes, there are checklists like we were talking before we got on, like things you're happy, like you're kind of knocking down these little hills and like little checklists daily, getting things done. I was talking about some stuff I need to get done. And it feels good to do. Those are things we can control.
Yeah.
But we can't control if one of our kids has something going on that when we're trying to do this, can't do that right now. I'll have to put that off. You can't control that because that takes precedence. And I think that's where so many people forget, like, what takes precedence in, your life? Do I need to do all this or this? And it's a hard concept to grab. As much as you'd like to be always on the winning team or being the most winningest individual in life, if there was a score to keep, it's really impossible to say that you can do it every day.
Yeah, no, it's not sustainable.
Even the best teams, yes, there are teams in the course of history who have gone undefeated, but they don't do that season after season after season. That has not ever happened.
Right.
So there's a reason for that, because it is impossible. And I think so many people put that expectation, like you were saying, when you travel and you come home, into their heads that you have to understand there are variables that you don't foresee that will happen, and you got to play off the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Really, I mean, all you gotta do is take a look back and ask yourself if, if you've done things like this, or maybe if you do things like this. And if that's the case, then that's cool. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to do anything. But as you make changes to prevent yourself from doing those things, people around you are going to notice, and their behavior will start to change as well. Mm-hmm. And that's not just some woohoo shit. That really happens. You get upset because somebody behaves in a way you don't like. That's fine. Every time you're around them, you behave the way that you like and the way that you expect them to like. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, that's on them. But eventually, they're going to be like, you know what, man? I'm either on board with this or I'm not.
Yeah. You have to set the expectations.
Yeah.
Again, like, what do you expect when you come home? If you're the one in charge, being a parent. And again, we will all slip up because we are human.
Oh, yeah. Then you got to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, there's that.
So it all goes hand in hand of expectations, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of yourself, of what you're doing, that you just have to understand in a day-to-day, like, operation, let's put it, of life. There are so many variables that you don't see, that you cannot control, that you literally just have to be open and kind of flow. And that is so much easier said than it is done, because I can think of days where it's like, nope, definitely did not do that. I try to be the, battering ram and straight ahead, when it's just, and then everything just fights back and pushes at you, and it just beats you down even further versus,
yeah.
Okay. Right. Kind of, dodging around what you need to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so much easier whenever you take your foot off the gas a little bit and you can start seeing those obstacles from further away. It's life gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. The curveballs, you see them from a mile away.
It's true.
Yeah. So to speak, it's, at least that's how it feels when you're in that zone or in the flow.
Yeah. And it just all goes back. You have to be adaptable to your day. Like,
yeah.
Stoics talk about it, change. You can't stop change.
Yeah.
No matter how much you try, your company's going to do things. The world will, time will, your vehicle will, you will.
Yeah.
You are not the same person now as you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and you won't be the same person now as you will be 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future.
Yeah. Leaves will fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of when I was reading, so it's like, I'll kind of paraphrase from the book, still Alan Watts, common thing. I'm trying to read everything he's wrote. Talking, so it's wintertime. You go out into, the yard and you see a bare tree. Nothing's on it. This tree does not bear fruit. It must be dead. Spring comes. Oh, it's flowering. Let's call it a lemon tree. Oh, it bears fruit.
Right.
You are a fruit-bearing tree. Well, then you go into other things like, you must not know what I need. Come back. Come to you again. Same thing. This gentleman doesn't know. What do you need? And then I tell you, oh, yeah. Well, before he did not know. And it kind of goes into the things that, first sight, things aren't always what they are. But
yeah,
things change. You may not have known what I needed the first time, but then you're like, this gentleman may come back again. Someone may ask this question to me again.
Yeah.
I think I will find out the answer. Well, then, lo and behold, someone comes back. I do know that. No different than walking outside now. It's spring here. If you're southern hemisphere of the world, it's not for you. But you're walking out, trees are budding, but maybe this one doesn't flower. You're like, that tree does not flower. Well, maybe it does. It just comes later. You can't sit here and go, that will never flower.
Yeah. Because
a tree is not the same tree now as it is in 6 months. It will change. It changes a lot more visually than we do. And that's where I think we as humans need to really open the eyes to see things that what you see first and before you is not what will stand there later in time.
Right. Yeah. Don't get too attached, right?
It just all goes back to change. And that, God, is so hard to say with the way the world is and just day-to-day life. Not because of current circumstances, just the world in general from any aspect of your life. Pick a year.
Right.
Change is inevitable. Sometimes you got to flow with it. Sometimes you got to fight back. Sometimes you'll have to do things you don't agree with. And, you'll make your peace, do whatever. But the biggest thing is like, you can't set these expectations, they don't get met, and then hold these grudges and this anger towards individuals, inanimate object, because what good does it do you? I can't get, I'm almost out of water. I hate that water bottle.
Right.
Well, there is no water bottle that, to my knowledge, it just fills itself up without putting it at a source, so I can't get mad at it. Getting mad at an individual for not doing something or whatever, or even if they did do something, maybe you cut ties with them, maybe they're still, it just does nothing. It's just constant poison to the system that for the long haul will just eat at you, whether you truly see it or not. It does. Yeah. And that's no different than the Bible, Taoism, Stoic, Zen stuff. There should be no hatred, anger in your heart, your mind, your body, or your soul. One should always be at peace. Again, take it for what it is. But in your day-to-day, you should not have anger. If someone cuts you off and you do, it should be brief.
Right.
2 minutes after that, it should be gone.
Right.
It's so like in certain situations, I'm sure it'll take a little more than 2 minutes of time, but it should be always fleeting. It should never be hanging on.
Yeah. Yeah. We got enough shit going on. We don't need to make more for ourselves.
No.
I mean, that's really the bottom line is we do all this shit to ourselves.
Yeah. And the worst possible thing is whatever is going on with you, like in these situations, these pre-made expectations, you only make them worse in your head.
Yep.
Than what it really is. Because you could go and maybe I'm your buddy and I carpooled with you and I'm waiting. I came back from the, business trip with you and waiting, for my ride to come and get me. And what gets you angry and I come home and I could be in the same thing seeing you. I'm like, dude, what are you getting mad about? Like,
right.
I don't think it's that bad.
Right.
It's
perspective.
It always is perspective. And again, take a step back. As we said before, everything should be accomplished in 7 breaths or every thought.
Yeah.
Every reaction. Again, easier said than done, but it's kind of one of those things of taking yourself from the situation and it kind of like coming back to it.
I think that for anybody listening, the amount of time that you or I or Jeff or anybody needs in between maybe a verbal accosting or just something trivial that needs to be addressed, the time that it takes is going to be the right amount of time. And you will learn as you go that it takes me about 4 breaths. Or maybe, it only takes me 2 breaths now and I can get myself back down to being chill and, don't get all excited. Maybe it takes you fucking 30 breaths. Maybe you got some work to do, right? And I've been there not too long ago. So it's going to be different for all of us. But there's so much truth in those old words. It's stuff that should be taught, man. There's valuable lessons in those books that need to be taught to children.
There's so many things, and it's stuff to read that hopefully you take in, pass to your children, and again, they won't fully understand, but in time, it'll sit, it'll linger, it'll come. Because there's things that you can think of that you do, like in this time of your life, you can go, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, older person, someone that coach. You can think of something that they did and go, I see why they did that now.
Yeah, man.
I did not see that then.
Time, age, the wisdom is all of those things, I think.
Wisdom, I say more so growth, because when you're growing, you should be growing in your mindset of wisdom and, your way to see things further than what they really are at a first glance.
Maybe becoming more graceful as you get older.
Good way of putting it.
Hopefully. Sure hope I do. Man, I really would like to chill out as I get older, That's more slow days I have, the better I like them.
I think that's another thing. That could be a topic for a whole nother day of society and its speed that thinks that the individual needs to go at.
Yeah, man. We move fast. And, well, at least most people do.
Oh, yeah.
I try not to, but
The world is wanting immediate gratification, immediate results, and things don't work that way.
Yeah, man, it's moving on with or without you. That's for sure. You know, I hear people talk about they don't want a smartphone and this, that, and the other, but I mean, I don't know. There's going to be a time where we're not going to be able to move around without one. You know, whether it's a vaccine passport or whatever it is. I mean, you know, there's a chance that you can't get away from it. So my point is, maybe you should try to figure out how to live with it as peacefully as you can. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that might be. And also, you know, with the forgiveness thing, I think that sometimes we trick ourselves. We say we forgive somebody for something, and yet every time we see them, the first thing we think of is, you know, said thing, said action, said words, whatever it was. So you go back again to that, the habits, and the reaction that you're having is habitual. You may forgive somebody, but you've created a habit of not acting like you forgave them, not treating them like they've been forgiven.
You re-drum up that memory or experience, man. Whereas it just kind of spots in my head as you're saying that each experience with an individual should be a new slate. You know, and that's how I've seen some things lately. With some difficult people I got to encounter occasionally at work, or you know, people you might deal with at times and stuff like that. Like, if you're dealing with someone over and over, think of it as a clean slate. Yes, you do know them, but think of it as like completely clean slate. Like, I really don't know this individual. I'm meeting them for the first time again today.
Yeah.
Because when we meet new people, we have typically no preconceived notion. You just see their looks, you hear their voice, you kind of see their smile through their mask, saying how, you know, meeting somebody, but you see those types of things and you're seeing it with like a new set of eyes.
Yeah.
So it's something like I would encourage people, like, when you're dealing with individuals who might have been difficult in the past, been a problem, whatever, see them with a new clean slate. You have no judgments, nothing written about them. You just see them for who they are right in front of you and whatever's going on.
And be compassionate for who they are and how they got to where they are today.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all took that trip. We're all still here. If you're looking at each other, you made it. Congratulations. You know, you're here another day. But you just can't keep that shit in you.
Mm.
You can't keep it on you, because you can't shake it. Like, and those people that have slowed themselves down enough to realize that there's a lot of shit out there, you can see it on people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can tell, man, somebody's just beat down. They're worn down. They got no reason to be happy. You know, you see it everywhere. You go to the grocery store, whatever. People out there look miserable, and it's a shame.
Yeah,
but probably just can't fucking keep up.
Not like some of the older people at work that I encounter, like they've lost their husband, wife.
Yeah, that sucks.
You know, or some of them don't have kids, family, relatives. They're getting to that age where a lot of the world's left them.
Yeah, for real.
And that can be at any age, truthfully.
Yeah.
But you see it in their face sometimes, and it's like, oh, well, how are you doing? You having a good day?
Right.
It's, you know, you could see it, and you know, we're here most of the time anyway.
Right.
You know, we're covered, but you see it in their eyes, and it's just like, oh, what's going on? Oh, you know, one of those days, or again, something happened that reminds them of someone who's no longer here.
Yeah, man.
Which those are good to have. You got to have those kind of things. That's not something you want to wipe with a clean slate, because you don't get those experiences back.
Yeah.
But it's those little things, like you see them with that, but you have that compassion and empathy, and hopefully a little bit of you and your excitement energy drifts into them.
Yep.
Versus going, here's this flipping person who's always down, blah, 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 blah. And as we've all heard, maybe your smile, your little greeting is what they needed to turn the entire day around.
Yeah, it doesn't take much either. I mean, a compliment goes such a long way for people anymore. Just a single compliment about somebody's outfit in line while you're checking out, somebody's shoes, a meal item, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? So many people just don't do those things that it became normal. And now everybody's head down on the phone or just head down, not wanting to look at anybody, trying to get the hell out of there. When there's another human standing next to you that if you just said something nice, it could turn their day around.
Oh, yeah.
It could completely flip it upside down, and you would have been responsible for that. And that comes back to you. I swear it does. Those good things come back to you in spades when you do them with good intentions. That shit just wasn't a story in a book. I really do believe that, you treat people well and your life becomes much more fruitful.
Yeah, I think it has a better purpose and meaningful, because then those people and your interactions, they will see you as more of an asset to their life, and they will give it back. Where some people see other people as a commodity, and that's kind of how the business world works, and we're not going to jump down that rabbit hole, but you see people as a commodity, and if they don't provide to some extreme level to your, again, expectation, they're not worth your time, your effort, money, whatever, and they're expendable. And I think a lot of people look at others in that way in this day and age, like, oh, that, as we branch back out and people start to go, oh, that waitress, this and that. Well, maybe she's got something crazy going on. Her mind's preoccupied.
Yep.
Or a lot of places are short staffed because, well, they can't afford to have a normal staff as things get busy again.
Or maybe that's their second or third job and they're just exhausted.
Yeah, maybe that's second shift for them here today, pulled a double.
Yep.
Maybe their kid kept them up all night. Maybe one of their family members isn't doing so well, and they messed up your order. They forgot something. It's just kind of roll with it. It's like,
right.
No big deal. Hey, this, like picking something simple, but
I hear you, man.
It's a lot of those things that you can't look at people as commodities and, expenditures. Like you can't just,
right.
Gone. Like
right,
you have to see people. You're going to have some people that may never change.
Right.
And that's fine. And those are the people you just kind of just don't deal with.
Yeah.
But if you do have those interactions with them, it doesn't mean you need to be a, assholes. Just
don't stoke the fire just because your last interaction was bad. You got a chance to do shit way differently. You're dropping your kid off at mom and stepdad's house, and you don't like the guy. Now's your chance to, you be decent and give him a chance to be decent back, and you might be tickled at how that shit turns around.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that firsthand with a buddy. You just have to be willing to open your mind, open your heart a little, give when you're not expected to be giving, and it gets a lot easier.
Well, it's insane when you see those small little gestures done in their day-to-day thing,
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, it's wonderful, man. Speaking of which, I think it's about time we get off here and go out and do some wonderful stuff.
It's a nice day here today. It is.
It is. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Go back out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely, man.
Cool. All right, then. Well, hey, thank you all for joining us today. A bit of a wild ride. Hope you enjoyed it.
We jumped around a bit, but that's okay.
It's all good. Hey, thank you very much from us to you. We sure do appreciate you being here with us.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you.
All right, peace. See you.